everybody. Welcome to the Power to You podcast presented by Power to Mark. My name is Rachel, and I'm going to introduce my co-host over here, Matt.
Hello.
And who do we have here today? You guys want to introduce yourselves real quick?
Sure. I'm Emily Hepworth, and this is...
Ethan.
Hi, Ethan. How are you doing today?
I'm just doing.
You're just doing something. You're busy on your tablet over there. Totally fair, dude. You live your best life. So Emily, welcome, and Ethan, welcome. We're just here to talk a little bit today about your experiences with Power to Mark and the Practice Without Pressure process. You have been one of our more recent success stories, and we'd love to hear a little bit about you guys and what brought you to us and how you got here. So if you wanted to start with, just tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Tell us how Ethan became a rock star.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So my husband and I have two boys. William is our oldest, and he's 8. And then Ethan is our youngest, and he's 6. And Ethan has Down syndrome. And we found Power to Mark through our friend Becky West.
Love
who
Becky.
has 2 children with Down syndrome, Sam and Luna. And Luna and Ethan are a year apart.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh,
To the
no
day. They share a birthday. Yes.
That's cool.
And so we're friends with them. And Becky had told us about Practice Without Pressure and Power to Mark. And so we had actually done a little workshop at the MAC. You and Mark were there.
No way.
And you were one of our
met.
yes, you were one of our stops. They did multiple
That's cool.
stops. And even just after that workshop where he brought his big boy or his Mickey, and they practiced all the things about a doctor and all that.
Mm-hmm.
We saw huge improvements with blood draws.
That's awesome.
with Ethan, and he gets a blood draw about every 6 months, and then we had some back-to-back, literally less than 24 hours between.
It's fireworks. Heck yeah, that's awesome.
Do that like fire.
Yep.
I love that he's holding it like a DJ too. He's got, either I think he might be trying to drown us out.
My fireworks here.
Yeah.
You're such a goof.
So we had some back-to-back hospital stays with lots of blood draws, lots of
Been there.
poking, prodding, waking up, all of that. And it just, everything that we had learned at that workshop just went out the window. And so Becky, I was talking to Becky about it, and she's like, "Oh, would you be interested in this?" And so she came over and worked with us a few times, and
That's awesome.
that's kind of how we got started.
Great. So can you tell us a little bit about Ethan's experiences with blood draws before Power to Mark? What did that look like for Ethan? What did that look like for you as a family?
Well, starting out, it wasn't that bad, or I didn't think it was that bad.
Sure.
He was a baby.
Sure.
We had an amazing pediatrician that had a lot of experience with Down syndrome children. Her godson was an adult with Down syndrome, or an older teen at the time with Down syndrome. And so she just had this love and appreciation. And
It's that personal experience that you don't know unless you're in it.
yes,
Kind of thing.
yes. And she loved Ethan. He got a tricky diagnosis at 7 months. And she cried on the phone with me when she found out. She was one of those doctors. While he was in the NICU, she checked in on the NICU, even and I had no idea until I took my older son in, and she was just like,
Yeah.
"I've been checking. Don't let him do this.
Yeah.
Don't let him do that, or this is good," or, all the things. She had read all the notes. She knew everything, and
That's amazing.
he wasn't even her patient officially yet. And so her thing was, this is going to be hard, I'm not going to let anybody draw his blood but me.
Okay.
And so we did do the sitting and the holding, but he didn't really seem, I mean, he was a baby. He didn't really seem to mind. And she tried it twice. That's it. And if she didn't get it, we made an appointment to come back.
That's awesome.
And rare. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I really felt like, you know, this isn't as bad as I've heard it is, you know, like this is pretty good. And as he got older, it got a little bit more difficult. And then right before we did the MAC workshop, she just retired.
Oh,
man.
No.
I mean, just
I
bawled. She bawled when she called to tell me that the letter was coming. I mean, it was just like I almost went like in a depression. I was so sad about it. And we love our new pediatrician. She does not do blood draws that way. We get sent out to, you know, Kids Stop or wherever. And they've been good, but it changed and it became a full me and one or two other people holding arms, him in between my legs.
A bear hug.
Yeah, like literally one leg, two arms, holding him.
And Ethan is 6 years old.
He's well,
earlier than that.
A little bit earlier. He was about 3.5, 4 when she retired.
Yeah.
And every time I would say to my husband, I don't think I can do this. Next time, Tag, you're it. You can take him. The other thing that it caused is as he got older, even though our first pediatrician was wonderful, he still screamed. And I get that's part of it, but because I had a 2, 3, 4-year-old brother, older brother, he was there and he became
of course,
scared. And he would cry when Ethan would scream and cry. And luckily, by the time we got a new pediatrician and I'd have to take him places, I started farming older brother out when I had to go do that because I realized that the trauma it was causing for him. I mean, it was causing trauma for me.
Of course, yeah.
You know, it would be so bad that come flu shot season, William, my older son, would like panic about
knowing there was some sort of a stick coming.
Needle
yeah,
coming.
Yeah. But we do that as I get dragged to get my own flu shot. Like we're talking about something that's traumatic to begin with. And I mean, I was hospitalized last year, and I remember nurses failing to find a vein. Like it's not. It sucks for adults that, you know, and then when you have little kids that can't, you know, communicate and don't understand, and you know, it's hard to begin with. So I can't imagine how that must feel for him.
And then you add in the factor of people who are neurodivergent typically have sensory issues, so it might be more painful or more uncomfortable than, you know, your neurotypical person. And so it definitely, I mean, everything that you're saying is taking me back a little bit. You know, I'm very grateful that, you know, most of my life, Mark's my older brother. So the reason behind all this, I didn't have to experience or remember too much of his restraint. But there are flashes that are there, and I remember myself being afraid because of what was going on. You listening to your fireworks still, or you got something else going on there, Ethan?
What are you doing?
I'm finding right here.
You're finding the right show? Okay.
And Ethan, I want to make sure that we let the audience know as well. We did ask you beforehand. You're cool with us telling your story right now, and you can chime in whenever you would like to, bud.
As he puts on the headphones,
he said, "Good,
tune you out." Yeah,
all good, bud.
Ethan is a bit of a celebrity on our end.
Yeah, because
we came to do. You guys filmed an amazing. I think it's part of course 6 or 7 in the Family Caregiver series, but. He will role play the entire practice session from memory.
Amazing.
Verbatim. and tourniquet and the whole like it's amazing. And you were telling, so he will role play with grandma. He
role plays with really anybody. But yes, he'll be at my parents' house and he'll say, "Mimi, can I see your arm?" And then she puts out her arm and he says, "Thank you for letting me have your arm." Like all the things. And he'll go through every step. And on occasion, he misses the order or something. But
sure.
Pretty impressive to get any of it for a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I mean, he'll even say, "It's okay. You do not need to be afraid. This will just take a minute." Like awesome. He goes through it all. He practiced one of the things that we had attempted twice. Mm-hmm. And the first time was like the most amazing thing. He did it. He was a little distracted and tried to distract the phlebotomist. But she stuck it and then she didn't get anything.
No.
Yeah.
And
so Ethan was successful.
Yes.
The phlebotomist,
Yes. And I just was.
You can only control so much.
Yeah. I just was devastated.
Of course.
And then the second time we didn't get even past the tourniquet.
Gotcha.
He'd get to the tourniquet and then his hand would get blue and purple and she'd say, "I have to take it off." And so I think we got to the tourniquet 2 or 3 times.
Gotcha.
But that was as far as we got. And I was super stressed because our doctor said it was a pretty important blood draw and our oncologist said, "I'll give you a month."
I gotcha.
And so we were towards the end of the month and I was panicky. And so I was a little stressed out and I started the bribing and the do this and do that and, and none of it worked. And so it didn't matter anyway. So I mentioned we homeschool and we attend a co-op once a week with other homeschool families. And I mentioned it to one of his teachers. And just said, "Please pray that he'll be able to do this and I won't have to hold him down or it won't be a bad experience." And she's like, "Perfect. We'll do that. But we're doing community helpers and I was going to do this community helper, but I'm going to change it to doctors and I'll bring in all the stuff." And so they did. They brought in all the play doctor stuff. That's and awesome. He was doing the whole, "May I see your hand?" Process with his peers. And then that next week, the next day, actually, that was on a Thursday. And the next day is when he told his occupational therapist when she said, "What are you doing after this?" He said, "I'm going to get my blood drawn." And we had not even discussed
when we
that.
did the practice session at your house. He was, "I want to do it for real." He wanted to go get the blood draw because he had this is a skill that he has down and he wants to do it now. Yeah.
That's awesome. So backtracking a little bit, essentially the timeline of things were, you have this appointment to get a blood draw, you contact Becky, you've been working together and do you know how many practice sessions that you had? Was it with Becky?
It was with Becky. Mm-hmm. I think we had 3 or 4.
Okay.
Before the first one.
Gotcha.
And
before the first blood draw.
Before the first blood draw.
And did you role play? So you did it on your own without Becky?
No, Becky did it about 4 times. Okay. With us, 3 or 4 times.
Gotcha.
That's
and
fast.
Then we were because we had one order for blood from one doctor, and while we were waiting to get into the hematologist oncologist, and so that was with that blood order. And so then after that happened, we had our appointment and she had totally different blood work and totally much more blood work.
Yeah.
And so we kind of put a halt. I said, "Let's not go back until we see the oncologist." And then after we saw her, that's when I think Becky came back 1 or 2 more times after that. But we had been practicing and he had been practicing with all of us, with grandma and grandpa, with anybody with dolls, with, whatever.
I've seen it. Yeah.
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 And so So that's when we had it about 1 or 2 times before the second stressed out mom, unsuccessful attempt.
With the tourniquet multiple times.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
not getting far past that.
And then we were going to have another practice, but something, I don't even remember what happened or how it happened.
Yeah.
And I didn't even tell Becky when he said that. I mean, literally he said like at 12 o'clock to his OT, we're going for a blood draw. As soon as it opened, we were there.
Absolutely.
After lunch. I fed the children.
So
I'm like,
it wasn't your plan to go that day.
No. I was planning to go the next week.
Yeah, we're ready for this. Let's do it.
And so I thought, well, if he's saying it, I better just go with that.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did.
That's amazing.
Wow.
And I mean, just seeing the video that y'all had sent after the fact and watching.
Couldn't script it better. The
pride on his face and the excitement and everything. I mean, how did that make you feel as his mom and experiencing what you have with him?
I was proud of him whether it, the first time I was super proud of him, and we ran into your mom after the first one out in the lobby, and, she congratulated him. And I don't think he truly understood exactly what was going on because it didn't happen. And he knew we would have to come back. Because I'm very upfront with him.
Yeah,
and I talk to him like I would anybody else.
Absolutely.
And when we left, the first time, he was just like, and I said, we're going to have to come back, buddy. Yeah. We didn't get the blood. And so when your mom congratulated him, I think he was kind of like, what is this for?
Yeah.
The second,
he still got through it. He still, he did his part.
Yes. And that's what I said. I was like, you did, you got stuck. That's hard. And you cried, and it was a short cry. And the stick was a short amount of time. We talked a lot about that. Like, this is just, did it hurt a long time or did it hurt a short time? Short time. Can you do something that hurts for a short time? Yes. Is it hard? Yes. And we always have said to our boys, Hepworths do hard things. And so I said to him, Hepworths do hard things, Ethan. You can do this again. But that last time when he got stuck, like when it was successful on both ends, his and the blood coming out, he was just like, he turned to the lady and he goes, I did it. And I was like, yeah, you did. My husband is a dentist and works 1 day a week for a special needs clinic. And they happen to have an office at the MAC.
Yeah.
Now, my husband doesn't work yet at the MAC, but he knows the dentist and all the people that work there. So after that, he said, can I go tell the ladies?
That's awesome.
And so we walked over there and he was like, I did it. I did it, Miss Melissa.
Right?
I did it, And he just wanted to tell. And so then we got down, and I don't remember what we were waiting for. Oh, his picture was on the screen at the MAC.
Oh.
So he didn't see it, but his brother did. So he was waiting for it to come back around. And so that's when I recorded the video. And it was totally unprompted. I just said, tell Miss Becky what you did. And he's just like, I did it. No one had to hold me down. Where are you at?
What?
You just did what? No, what did you just do?
Blood draw.
You did your blood draw, and what happened?
And nobody did hit me down.
Nobody hold you down. Did you do it all by yourself?
Yes.
Like a biggest, bravest, strongest boy?
I love that because he was so so we write a lot of the copy that goes in the marketing and stuff. I couldn't have handed him a script that was more exactly, I did it all by myself, and I nobody hold me down.
Yeah, hold me down. That's what he said. Nobody hold. And I even went, nobody hold me down. I didn't even fix the grammar.
Oh, it was perfect. It was, but the I think a lot of people he's in this, he wants to succeed. And you can see that in his expression, right? And it's the parent, but I do want to, so I want to talk about the timeline Because that had to have been horrible on you, kind of knowing that you either had to go to
a month.
This restraint method that was traumatic to you, to him, to everybody involved, or not get the medical tests that needed to be done. And we were talking about some serious potential diagnoses. And so how did that feel?
Oh, I felt sick. I mean, that middle one, I was just like, I just panicked, and I wasn't my best person for him at that middle one, because I was just like, buddy, we have to do this. We have to do this. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. And I'm sure Becky was sitting there going, this is not what we have practiced, Mom. Like he was doing everything we had practiced.
Right.
Mom is not doing everything. The calm,
But it's hard to be calm when you have this timeline, and you want what's best for your child. You want to be able to do this, but you also want to make sure he stays healthy.
Yeah.
There's definitely, when it's your family member and it's when somebody that you've been charged to take care of, there's this war going on in your head of how do I navigate this? If I can't do this without restraint, it doesn't get done. But then what does that mean for him in the future? And so it's really, nobody can fault you for responding like that, because it's a huge weight to carry as his mom. That's a lot.
Well, I think in the Down syndrome community, or even people who aren't, the number one question we get asked is, did he have or does he have heart problems?
Yeah.
And he didn't, luckily. But there are so many other things that come with Down syndrome that people do not realize. I did not know beforehand. And one of them to me is the leukemia thing.
Yep.
And it scares me, and I have major stress and anxiety about that. And so I think that's one of the reasons, like anytime he gets any kind of rash, I'm like poking it. Is it petechia? Is it, is it all the things?
You're the WebMD mom.
Yeah. Except it's the Down syndrome MD mom,
right.
Yeah. A little new thing that pops up, you're researching and doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And also as social media and as networking in the Down syndrome community has gotten way improved from 20, 30 years ago, we know more because we see our community going through things that they didn't know was associated. And so with knowledge comes a lot of hysteria and anxiety, at least for me.
Absolutely.
So I think that, when you hear, I'd like to refer you to a hematology oncology, you're like, oncology?
Right.
I know what that is. You're not going to say it, but I know what it is. And so, there's a lot of anxiety. And so I was not my best self for that, month of trying to get it done. Especially, the first one, I wasn't so bad, but it was that second middle one that I was just like, I've got 2 more weeks.
Time goes by really fast in those settings. It's just like a month is literally gone within the blink of an eye.
And school and activities and everything else in between, there's not a lot of hours left in that. But it's really important, I think, to celebrate you for going through the it's like celebrating mom. But because it's I think a lot of when we talk about practice without pressure, we're talking about a philosophy for the person receiving the care, but it is so much more than just the person receiving the care. It's for their caregivers, for their family, for their parents, for the provider, for the doctor on the other end, the nurse on the other end. One of the things that I love is that when we talk to, even at the MAC, people, nurses and whatnot that say they've been hit or kicked or harmed in some way. Yeah. And so having a process where the system goes through, the procedure goes through without something that causes that stigma for them. Because I think if you've had that experience, I think it's impossible not to develop a prejudice because you're kind of in a what's going to happen here. And so, Power to Mark and PWP having this tool set that that those nurses can see that, oh, this isn't necessarily, and there are bad days, I think, and then that's one of the, like, this is not a magic bullet, this is not a cure, this is not,
like, I don't think
stop
he's
bad days
not
from
going to
happening.
have these issues. Yes.
Process. It's something that you have to continue to work towards, probably throughout his life. I mean, Mark, our experiences, we still walk into the doctor's office, and, you know, if it's a doctor we've never seen before, we've had experiences where they're kind of like looking at each other like, do we go get another person? How do we handle this? Mark's 35 years old. Like, he's a big dude. He's 200 plus pounds. And so, you know, it's an experience that we have had throughout his life, no matter where we go. And I mean, those medical problems aren't going away. Like you said, there's a lot of comorbidities. Yeah. Mark is one of those people with Down syndrome who does have heart issues, but he's also got really bad back issues, really bad digestive issues. There are some other things that he's got going on. And so we're constantly at a doctor's office. Yeah. He had to, after an open heart surgery, have fluid pulled from his lungs because of a complication from the surgery. And so we're constantly practicing and doing new things with him. And so I can definitely, you know, relate to that as well. It's an ongoing process for sure. And I mean, this is your kid. But, you know, I think when we think about our kids at first, it's like when they're adults, they're going to be off doing their own thing, you know, but that's a different story when you have a child with disabilities. And so this is definitely a lifelong process. So it can be overwhelming. Mm-hmm. It can be overwhelming for sure.
Well, I know for one thing that we did do after, we made sure, I mean, yes, we sent the video out, you know, to Becky, to grandparents, you know, all of that. But we also made sure that he told other people, like he told his class at our co-op, because he had practiced with them and they knew. I mean, his teacher said, Ethan has to have some blood work done. We're going to practice this, you know. And so he came and shared that with the class. When he walked into his oncology appointment after the results were in, he told her all about it. That's awesome. And she was just, I mean, she had never heard of practice without pressure. She's like, I'm going to have to check that out. That's so amazing that he did that by himself. And so we tried to make it a big, and it's a big deal. And he, you know, we continue to encourage him to practice it, and we practice with him. We had a GI doctor's appointment, and he said, do I have to have my blood drawn? And I said, no, we're just going in to talk to the doctor, you know, like, and because I think he thought, okay, I need to start practicing, you know, like, physically. And we talked to him about anytime, you know, like he'll go next month for his birthday checkup, and I'm not sure if he'll have vaccinations because I don't really remember. And so, you know, we'll say there might be some shots, but you can do this. And this is what it feels like, or this is how it is. You won't have a tourniquet. You won't have, you know, Band-Aids are a big no-no for him. You know, like I
don't like Band-Aids either.
He doesn't like Band-Aids. And so we always say before to the person, don't bother with a Band-Aid. Just give him a cotton ball. Yeah.
If you have that option, take it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we tried to prepare him. I will also say that the phlebotomist at the MAC, the first 2 times was the regular one that works there. The time we went, she knew nothing much about practice without pressure, but she was warned that Ethan might come in. I mean, she knew, and we walked in and I started telling her, she's like, yes, Christina told me about you. Good. And she's like, tell me a little bit. What does he need? What this?
That's awesome.
And she was very, very good. And afterwards she was like, I am impressed. You know, this is cool. He did really good. And we also had his brother there that time, which,
oh, wow. So brother was reintroduced.
Yeah. Brother was there that time.
That's awesome. I'm curious if this has had an impact on him, just seeing Ethan practice at home.
Well, getting his flu shot this year, he didn't he just said, I'm going to be first. And usually he's like, Ethan can go first. Mom can go first.
I'll let the pro go first. Yeah.
But I mean, he did. He just went and.
That's awesome.
And then afterwards he goes, and even when Becky practiced the first few times at the very beginning, she used me, she used William as an example. And when she used William and she recorded it, there's a moment where his facial expression is one of fear. William's is. Because it looks like a real needle. And even though she said it retracts, you don't really know. Is it going to hurt? Is it going to...
Yeah. Body responds very similarly. You see that and the fear comes rushing back to you.
Yes. And he's never had a blood drawn, but he has seen brother. Mm-hmm. And so he had this look of fear. And afterwards, after Becky left and it was just, us, he said, I was really kind of scared, Mom. And I said, I know, but you did it, and I appreciate that, and Ethan appreciates it. And then he said, I don't think I'll be scared anymore.
That's awesome.
And we still didn't bring him. Well, we did. We brought him to the first blood draw, and he sat in the lobby with Becky's son, Tommy. And when Ethan started screaming, because he screamed, because the needle is different. And he recognized that it was a real needle.
Yep.
And when she pulled it out, he even goes, a needle? Like, what? This is not what we've been practicing. You could just see it in his face. But when he screamed, I heard a... Yep. And William was at the locked door so that nobody can get back, pounding on the door, trying to get back.
Yeah.
And then the next time I didn't bring him because I thought this is obviously not a thing he's ready for. And then the Friday thing happened and it was so spur of the moment. I didn't really have a place. I mean, I probably could have taken him over to the dental office, but it didn't even occur to me.
Yeah.
But so he came in and it was good for him to see. And I think it helped him. I also think it probably helped Ethan a little bit for him to be there.
Well, I mean, I've had... You're so funny. I've had my own experiences where when I was younger, I modeled for Mark, my brother. But then as I got older, I was afraid of blood draws. And I have questions for you in a second, bud. I was afraid Mark would have to come with me and hold my hand because you wouldn't know that I don't like needles from all the tattoos, but it's definitely different. And it was a really overwhelming experience for me because we all as a family have medical trauma. I have my own health issues. And so I've had experiences with hospitalizations and stuff like that. But it was interesting to see the script flipped a little bit, but it was really helpful to have him there for me. And that sibling relationship is so different from the parent-child relationship too at the same time. We drive each other nuts, but that's my best friend. And so it definitely, I love hearing that he's now gotten to experience this in such a positive way for himself because he's so young. And it makes a difference for us because, I mean, watching that happen to our siblings is for sure traumatizing for us. And so that's going to
stick with you.
Yeah, it does.
It's going to impact your own anxieties around blood draw, and everything else. It's not, and again, it's not an easy thing on a good day.
For sure. For sure. But it just, hearing that just really warms my heart that he got that experience so young, and is going to get the chance to be able to watch Ethan grow up and build his own confidence and not have to see those things continue.
Well, and I also think that when you are the sibling of a medically fragile or even semi-medically fragile person, there's a lot of anxiety in and of itself.
Yeah.
And he hasn't always seen the big time restraining because the older he got, I quit bringing him. But even in the hospital, I had to get in bed and wrap 2 arms, two legs around him and someone else was holding, 2 people sometimes holding his arm, and he was, 6 years old.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I cannot do this long term.
No, it's
physically.
Let alone the
and my husband would be like, it's not that hard to hold him, Emily. And I'm just like, you're not there when they're doing this. And what do I do when he's 200 pounds or whatever?
Exactly.
I can't do that by myself. And nor should medical people have to bring in 10 people,
The health industry is overrun enough with enough people, without having to lay on top of their patients to get them to be able to do something as routine as a blood draw, right? I mean, they do blood draws every day. And so could you imagine if that was happening, on a frequent basis? And so that's what will happen, for a lot of people in the future. What we've heard from others who, as their child got older, it was either they refused to go or the medical professionals refused to see them.
Yeah.
Unless they were sedated, but being sedated involves getting a needle typically. And so it was restraint for sedation. And so it was a vicious cycle that we've experienced over the years and seen it from other families. And so not knowing that that's not something that you are hopefully going to have to experience in your family really makes me very hopeful and happy.
And it's helped. It's benefited up the family tree to William and for yourself and for every it's all the emphasis on the person receiving the care, but it affects everybody.
Absolutely. Ethan, what do you see in the water?
Turtles.
You see
Turtles.
Oh, that's awesome.
Toodles. He's watching Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Love it. No?
It doesn't go there.
The pig doesn't go there.
He's wrong about the pig.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan, do you have a couple seconds for me to ask you some questions about your blood draw? Can I ask you some questions?
Put this down so that you can hear her.
I know, you still have some chocolate on your face from the donut. It's cool.
Saving it for later.
Ethan, what did you think when you were practicing for the blood draws? Did you like to practice it or?
Yes.
Yeah, was that fun for you to be able to show it to your friends at school and your family and stuff like that? That was cool?
Yes.
And did it make you really proud of yourself to be able to get your blood drawn by yourself without anybody holding you down?
No.
No one held you down. That's awesome, bud. You can go back to your stuff. I just wanted to hear from you for a little bit. Anything else you want to contribute, feel free. That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It affects your whole family,
Tango.
It definitely
Yep.
It definitely is something that, regardless of whether you're 8 years old or how young you are, you have an understanding that of what is going on, whether you have a full understanding of how serious it is. You grow up fast in that situation because you have to. And so it definitely, for him to be able to have that positive experience, I think is going to make a huge difference to him in the future as well, for sure. And your whole family.
Well, the other place that it made a difference, I mentioned my husband is a dentist and he works once a week at a special needs clinic.
Hey, cows.
And he does do sedation dentistry, but it has been really good for him, to see that you can do this and it doesn't have to be,
And there are situations where sedation is the right way to go.
Yes.
But they're trained a certain way in medical school, and they, and they have certain expectations that were drilled into them of what they should expect. Yeah.
Yes, but he came home one day and he said, that he had a patient that struggled with putting the mask on, and he said, I just let him play with the mask, and I sent him home and said, Mom, try to get him to wear this mask, practice with him, and then we'll try again. And even that little thing, and to me, was huge because he recognized that there's something to practicing before a scary procedure.
Absolutely.
Ethan doesn't struggle with seeing a dentist. He loves his dentist, as a matter of fact, and, walks in there and They think he like owns the place and he acts like he does, but and it's not his dad, it's a different dentist. So he, that's not a problem, but there are other things, I know people that can't brush their teeth.
Yep. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. And haircut, nails, all of those things. Ethan, I don't know why he loves water. He struggles in the shower.
Yeah.
And so we've started in the car wash, which he loves, talking about this is like a shower. Look, it comes down, it hits the top. And so when he goes in the shower, we're like, oh,
I love the creativity.
You're just like at the car wash, and he knows the order of the lights and how they go.
At the car wash, I'm in the car. You're going to put the car in the shower because I had protection there.
Like you're the car, you're in the car wash, and just even like practicing for other things is so important.
Absolutely.
And giving them some sort of context to what is happening. Sometimes we forget that, he, in a lot of ways we say he's just like every other kid his age, he's a 6-year-old, but in a lot of ways he isn't like every other kid. Other kids can go to a doctor that they've never seen before and they're just like, I'm going to the doctor, but for him to go, it requires a little bit. Now, if we say you're going to see Dr. So-and-so who he knows and has seen his whole life, it's not a big deal.
Absolutely. Sure. Because he knows what to expect. He's been prepared in the past, right?
Yes.
It's not always that simple.
No.
And and you get referred to a specialist, or we need you to do this, or we need this test done, or
Yes.
Or that person's not here today.
Yes.
And
Yes. So, I mean,
it becomes a minefield of surprises.
Yeah, and how do you balance the over preparing?
Yeah.
Versus, because you don't want them to be scared and you don't want to make it like a scary thing, but you also want to, like we'll start talking in a couple of weeks, maybe even next week, about his middle of December doctor's appointment and how there might be shots.
Yeah.
And what that will look like and how that will be. And then we'll practice with the, we don't have a retractable needle, but we'll practice with the syringe for his doctor's
open paper
kit.
clip.
I've seen the paper clip one,
Yeah.
Just so there's that little sensation. It's brilliant.
I really love that it's started to bleed into other aspects of his life. It's not just, I've done this blood draw and then that's it. It's given you guys and him the confidence to be able to work on these other things that he struggles with. And like you said,
100 coins for me.
For you?
Yes.
Nice.
100 coins?
So I can get an ice cream.
Ooh,
And ice
you would
cream.
love that, wouldn't you?
What flavor ice cream?
What flavor do you like?
Chocolate.
Me too.
I'm a vanilla gal, but you take all the chocolate, dude.
More
you live
for
your
us.
best life. But I mean, even like you said, with your husband, I mean, the people who are working at his dentist's office with the mask, maybe they've never even heard of practice without pressure, and yet they're doing an aspect of it at home. And so, I mean, I love that you shared that. I think that's really beautiful and exactly what we want to see. We want to see a systemic change for people with disabilities. I feel like people get very set in how to do something, and there's a way to do something. And oftentimes people with disabilities, you have to do things a little bit of a different way. And I'm sure you've learned that as a mom of somebody with disabilities. And so it's getting people into that mindset of being creative and doing things a different way. And making it a part of your life. And I think what you've done for yourself, for your family, for Ethan is really beautiful, that you dedicated that to him and for you guys.
Thank you. We try. I mean, it's
All my money.
That's all your
That's
money.
Yes.
You spent it all on ice cream? Or what else?
Sounds like me. Payday.
Spent all your money on groceries, and it's usually
We got
things
paid
like
the other day, and we were immediately in the toy aisle at Target.
Yeah.
It's ice cream in the toy aisle. That was
for you.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Laurel picked up a giant stuffed animal thing, and I was buying Legos. It was
I was gonna say you priorities, right? Yeah. I love it. What game are you playing, Ethan, that you're making money?
Making ice creams.
The ice creams?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're making ice creams? Nice. I love it.
Well, this gives us a good place to wrap up for this. I do want to also say, every visit to the doctor, he's welcome to jump in anytime. Every visit to be it a doctor or a haircut, any appointment, it's going to have different levels of success. And so I would say that Rachel would agree that as you go through any kind of process with the Practice Without Pressure philosophy, that that there are going to be good days and bad days, and not to get discouraged if your results, if somebody that you're caring for is not the immediate superstar that Ethan is.
It was a rooster doing that? A rooster. What sound does a rooster make?
Oh.
Oh?
A rooster says, "Oh."
What does a rooster say?
We got chased by a rooster today.
Make that sound like that.
Oh.
The cock.
They do not say "oh."
No, typically they don't, but they're very loud.
Sometimes he says it like I learned in Spanish.
Ah?
Kikariki.
Oh, cool.
So I wasn't sure what he would say.
That's fair. That's fair. Spanish is cool too. You're a goof, man. I love it.
Are you goofy?
How I work.
Yeah. I'll take
One
that
track
as a yes.
mind.
Best podcast guest ever.
No, get off. They're messing with your game. You're so funny.
Whoa. It's big.
It's big. What is it?
The heavens are
The what is it?
What is it?
Ta-da.
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 They can't see it.
I can't
So
see
you
it.
have
I
to
don't
tell
know
them what it is.
Yeah.
What is it?
Hang on.
Hang on.
Mommy put peanuts in the fake ice cream.
Put peanuts in the fake ice cream. But what was it? They didn't know what you were seeing.
Coins in the piggy bank.
Coins in a piggy bank.
Coins in the piggy bank because you put peanuts in the ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get this one.
I like this game.
Okay.
I know, I
Okay.
can picture it.
Right?
Peanuts.
This is like walking through,
Right?
but you can't see it, and you have to picture it.
I
Yeah,
can see it in my
And you're only getting
it's a
part of
sensory exercise, right? From a 6-year-old.
picture here. It's painting a
But
picture.
you're getting the important details. There's ice cream with nuts, and you get coins that go in your piggy bank.
You have everything.
That's a pretty complete picture.
Yeah.
All right. Ethan, anything else you want to talk about today? Anything else you want to add about your blood draw?
Who helped you with your blood draw?
Got it.
Okay.
Got it?
Yep. Who helped you with your blood draw? Who helped you learn about doing blood draws?
Me.
And
You? Yeah, absolutely.
don't you want to give credit to anybody else? Like Miss? Who helped you? Miss who?
Miss Olivia.
Not Miss Olivia. Miss Becky.
Miss Becky.
Miss
Awesome.
Becky. Yep.
All right. Well, Ethan, thank you for sharing and thank you for coming on with us today, bud. I appreciate you letting us talk with you here and talk to your mom. You enjoy your game, bud. Your peanuts and ice cream. I get it. I get it. But Emily, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really do appreciate. I know this is not necessarily the easiest thing to talk about all the time, but seeing your guys' story and Ethan's story and hearing about it has truly been a wonderful thing for us. So we're very appreciative that you were willing to come here today and chat with us and tell us about your family.
Well, you're welcome. And we're very appreciative of the work that you and you and your mom and Mark have done to help people like Ethan be successful at whatever is hard for them. Make it just a little bit easier.
We try. We try. It's all about power to you guys.
That's right.
So,
Which brings us to a perfect point to say thank you guys for joining us on the Power to You podcast.